So we have here the Raspberry Pi 2 components. We have the DSI display connector on the left side. We have the SD card slot or within the back of the board. We have the micro USB power. We have the Broadcom BCM2835 with the ARM 11700 million hertz. We have the HDMI out, the CSI connector camera below, and we also have this big box which is the internet. Then on the right side we have the port here known as the USB 2.0 port. Above we have the audio out, and we also have the RC video out. Then we have the GPIO headers and as well as the JTAG headers. Now these are the Raspberry Pi 2 components. So the Raspberry Pi Model B can be seen in this figure, wherein the GPIO act as the hands and the 512 megabyte RAM CPU and GPU acts as the brain, and we have here that act as the mouth and ears, and we also have another here that act as a hand. So Raspberry Pi components, GPU plus the CPU plus the RAM is equivalent to this Broadcom in the middle as the BCM2835, known as the CPU core as well. So here you can see another view of the Raspberry Pi components, which are the USB port, we have the HDMI port, the audio jack, and we also have Ethernet port, and more here that can be seen for the components. We also have below here the CSI camera input and the DSI display. We also have above, you can appreciate the SD card being installed or being placed inside. So the OS version is also available for Raspberry Pi. We have the Ubuntu Mate, Snappy Ubuntu Core, we have the Windows 10 IoT Core, the OSMC, the OpenLEC, and we have the PNet, and as well as the RISC OS. So the main OS version for Raspberry Pi, the Raspbian, it is the foundation of official supported operating system, and you can install it with the noobs or download the image below and follow our installation guide. So Raspbian comes pre-installed with plenty of softwares for education, programming, and general use. It has Python, Scratch, Sonic Pi, Java, and Mathematica, and many more. Raspbian is what is known as the operating system. Similar to Windows, running on your home PC, the Raspberry Pi requires an operating system to work, and Raspbian is a special purpose distribution based on the Debian, or a variant of Linux. Now the OS is what lets the Raspberry Pi not only run programs but also run multiple programs concurrently. It is accomplished with a scheduler in the OS, and simply put, this makes programs to take turns, and only one program is actually executing at any one time. Now it is also an operating system for media, home theater, entertainment use. It can turn an old TV into a media center to display high-definition movies and watch YouTube. It's based on the XBMC famous media software, and a distribution based on the Raspbian edited by famous electronics company Adafruit, which developed the system to control an electronic application, which makes it easy to use different control protocol. Now Kali Linux is a Linux distribution based on the Backtrack, which is one of the best OS for hackers and security experts around the world. Now offering a variety of hacking tools to a wired and wireless networks, it stands for Robotics Operating System, a specialized operating system for robotics and a system that is used in robotics projects all around the world, offering a great tool to make it a controlling robot and doing an easy job. Now developers were able to modify a version of Android to work properly with Raspberry Pi, and it's still in the beta stage, and a professional version of Linux for experts and anyone who wants a version of the Linux small enough to fit in a Raspberry Pi and fast enough to do all the tasks without slowing the system performance. It's a collection of 4 different operating systems. We have the Raspbian, Fedora, RaspBMC, OpenELEC, which allows a beginner to choose and run without any complications. The RISC OS was developed in the early 90s in the UK to help computer and engineering students to learn more about computer ARM based on architecture. Now let's differentiate Arduino versus Raspberry Pi and versus the BeagleBone. Now here is a table that will highlight on the major difference of Arduino, Raspberry Pi, and the BeagleBone.